The White Sox shut out the Nationals 2-0 yesterday to win another series. Have the Sox already peaked? Let's discuss next on Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong White Sox fan and the site expert of Southside Showdown, part of the Fansided Network. You can check out my written content at southsideshowdown.com. Also, I have covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Smash the like button. Also follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, leave a 5-star review. Well, the White Sox won another series. I believe that's their third straight. Yesterday after a 2-0 victory over the Nationals. And after that historically bad 3-22 start, the Sox are actually playing competitive baseball. Now a rough 39-game stretch of schedule is here, and that is why what we've seen over the past, say, 19 games might have been the height of the season. I'll discuss why, and then let's talk about yesterday's win. And finally, Pedro Grifol said something either, I would say, somewhere between confusing and dumb yet again. But today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So MLB.com White Sox beat reporter Scott Merkin tweeted this out at Scott Merkin. White Sox win 2-0. Finished 5-2 on this homestand, playing good baseball across the board, improved to 14-30. Crochet wins his third straight start, and they are 11-8 in their last 19. It was also the second straight shutout of the Nationals. Yes, the Sox, who have been shut out like 10 times this season, blanked the Nationals twice. But I know I've talked about this before on past podcasts, but winning this series was huge, especially when it comes to avoiding a historically bad season. As you know, my stance is I'm not embracing the historically bad because there's no reward for it. Sox are ineligible for the draft lottery next year. So there's no, at least, consolation prize for being historically bad, except for to just be historically bad. But now comes a tough 39-game stretch of schedule, and the Sox kick it off against the New York Yankees tomorrow at Yankee Stadium. Yep, that's the same Yankees who are at the top of the AL East. They're also fifth in the Locked On MLB Power Rankings. And hey, look at that. The White Sox, my colleagues think, are the 28th best team. Well, the second to last team in baseball. Rockies and Marlins, obviously, they think is worse. Are worse. And yeah, the White Sox have to play the Yankees, who have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. And how are the Sox countering them? Well, it's Mike Clevenger, who's working himself back into full game workload. Brad Keller's taking over for Michael Soroka in the rotation. At least I believe that's what the plan is. Michael Soroka is going to the bullpen. And Chris Flexen, who is shaky against any other team that is not the Tampa Bay Rays. That's who the Sox are going to use in a 3-game series against the Yankees. The Yankees are also the second best team in baseball when it comes to hitting home runs, fourth best in OPS. And the Sox have to match that high-powered offense because, again, you're playing in Yankee Stadium with the worst offense in OPS and hitting home runs. Yeah, I'm not too optimistic about the White Sox hopes of winning in New York. I'm just gonna put that out there. Then the Sox have to go off to Canada, and yes, the Blue Jays are struggling. So maybe the Sox can win a series during this brutal 39-game stretch of schedule. But they've also never played well north of the border. Sox haven't won in Canada since August 26th of 2021. And even then, they split a 4-game series. On the flip side, though, they do get the Blue Jays a week later at home. And if the Sox can play like they did against the Nationals, who, again, they were another team that is under 500, maybe the Sox can pick up a series victory. But before that, they have to play the Orioles, the best home run hitting team in baseball. And Keller and Flexen will pitch games 1 and 2. At least that is what they're slated to start. Now the Sox will have Eric Fedde and Garrett Crochet wrapping up the series. So there's a possibility with how Fedde and Crochet have been pitching, the Sox have a good potential to get a split. Then the Brewers crush home runs and get enough pitching to continue to stay at the top of the NL Central. And the Sox have to go play them for a 3-game set after that Blue Jays series at home. William Contreras is on fire right now. Sal Frelick is heating up. And if you're wondering, Todd, why is your nose all red and your face look like it's sunburned? I went to the Brewers game yesterday, part of a work outing. I live a lot closer to American Family Field than I do Guaranteed Rate. And I sat third base sign and just baked. So a tip, if you're coming up to American Family Field at the end of the month, first, use the Game Time app. Second, do not get anything on the third base side for the Saturday and Sunday day game. You will be sitting in the sun baking. So if you want to get a tan, third base side. Then the White Sox have to go to Wrigley, home against Boston, then at Seattle. No easy games there. And then they have to travel to Arizona. So after Seattle, they go to Arizona. And yeah, Arizona's scuffling, but it's still a Pacific time zone start. They do get a brief reprieve against Houston. So maybe there's a chance to pick up some wins because Houston looks like their title window is slammed shut. Then the Sox have to go to Detroit, where they've won just one combined game against the Tigers, Royals, and Twins. And hint, that one win did not come against the Tigers. Finally, the Dodgers are in town, and the Braves. They come in for one game as part of a makeup for when that, I think it was Game 3 was rained out. So that's why it's like, is this the height of the season? Because the other thing is it looks like the Sox, 11-8. I got to give a credit. They're 11-8 thanks to a lot of the veterans that they have. Tommy Pham has been great. Obviously, Eric Fedde has been probably co-MVP with Garrett Crochet, and I would say Fedde would probably be the quarter of the season MVP because he hasn't, Crochet had those 3 starts where he was just getting roughed up. But they're going to probably trade. Hopefully, they trade Fedde, guys like Pham. So the veterans, they'll bring up the youngsters, hopefully, after the trade deadline. And yes, there's excitement, but who knows how many wins they'll get out of young players. So for the Sox to keep the good times rolling, they're going to need Fedde and Crochet to pitch like they have during this stretch to give them even a chance to be competitive. Also, the Sox have to avoid reverting back to what we saw during that 3-22 start, where the offense could not score runs. The defense was atrocious. Maybe Luis Robert Jr. is back during this stretch. And the 2 through 5 hitters can't be awful like they were in Tampa. But we shall see. But this might be the point of the season where we will point and say, hey, this is when things were good. So that's why you got to take it day by day and really evaluate individual performances. And speaking of individual performances, Garrett Crochet was a dude again on the mound. And the Sox They won yesterday, so let's discuss it next on Locked On White Sox. Hey, I love going to the ballpark ever since I was a kid. There's nothing like hot dogs at the park and seeing the best crush home runs and strike out a batter looking. Plus, as you get older, you can enjoy it with a beer. Want to take in a game soon or build memories like I had with my dad, but think, man, ticket prices are just getting out of hand. Well, Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And that is going to be my strategy to get a deal when the White Sox come to Milwaukee. Nice thing about Game Time is the app is easy to use and you can scan the deals in each section. Want the cheapest ticket but worried it is in a bad spot? The app will virtually show you the view you will have. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest sports stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And the White Sox are off today, but when they are in action, catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter, and thank you for making the show your first listen. Lots of great White Sox podcasts out there. I just hope I'm the first one you take in. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Smash the like button. Also follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts and leave a 5-star review. Well, Garrett Crochet, he pitched 5 scoreless innings yesterday, allowed 3 hits, struck out 6, but he did walk 3. The pitch count got up in the 3rd and the 4th inning. And again, those 2 innings I keep saying with Crochet, it's usually the 2nd or the 3rd inning where he's going to run into trouble. The 3rd inning and the 4th, he issued a couple of walks. Got that pitch count up, and that's a big reason why he was pulled after 5, as again, the White Sox rightly should be handling him with kid gloves as he's making that transition from reliever to starter. And Sarah Langs at Slangs on Sports tweeted this out. Garrett Crochet now has 70 strikeouts this season, the most in a pitcher's first 10-year career starts in White Sox history. Prior record, 2012, Chris Sale, he had 68. And that's a pretty good comparison. Both are lefties. Both kind of were eased into the big leagues coming out of the pen. And both had the stuff to, Sale had the stuff and then became an ace. Crochet definitely has the stuff to be an ace. No matter what some of those bickering White Sox fans say in the Facebook comments. And I know the CHGO guys, they talked about it. Again, just make me your first listen every day and then listen to CHGO. You can listen to the Aju podcast, Sox in the Basement. Good guys to talk back. Again, we have plenty of great podcasts for you White Sox fans. But they talked about it. And yeah, the Sox need to get Crochet signed to an extension in the offseason and hopefully to a team-friendly one like they did with Sale back in the day. I mean, obviously, 1, you lock up a young pitcher who's proving to be a stud. But 2, if this rebuild doesn't work, you could move them and get great assets back in return. Just develop them and hope they don't get hurt. because that's what basically has happened to Yohan Moncada and Michael Kopech. Jared Suster, Jordan Leisure, and Michael Kopech, speaking of Kopech, they took it the rest of the way to keep the Nationals off the scoreboard. Although things got a little uncomfortable in the ninth as Kopech allowed 2 base runners, but he was able to get that final out. And then the Sox took advantage of the Nationals making a key defensive mistake in the third inning that allowed Braden Shoemake to score. And then Corey Lee, he drove in the other run in the sixth. And Corey Lee is probably the second, I would say the third biggest surprise this season. Although you could rank him maybe first. Eric Fetty, I think the hope was he was just going to be an innings eater and just not start a fire out on the mound. But he has become a stopper. But there's also history of guys going over to Korea or Japan, fixing and cleaning up their game, and then coming back and being very effective. Garrett Crochet, obviously, is a huge surprise that he is basically he looks like he's going to be the next ace of the staff. As long as he just doesn't get roughed up in the second and the third inning, he's going to be the dude. Sorry, quick coffee sip there. But Corey Lee, I mean, he looked like he shouldn't even be a Major League Baseball player last year in his brief time with the big league club. And now, he definitely looks like he is going to be the backup catcher of the future because you got Edgar Quero down at Double-A. But hey, it might be worth seeing having those two guys compete for the starting job next year. Corey Lee, though, definitely should be out there at least 5 days a week. I mean, if you want to pair Martin Maldonado with, say, Flexen for how he calls the game, fine. But Martin Maldonado is an automatic out, and I'll keep advocating to the hills. You could probably have Chucky Robinson, who's down in AAA, do what Martin Maldonado is doing. Chucky Robinson's a veteran catcher. I'm sure he can call a game. Because remember, the bar is just don't be Yasmani Grandal. And then the next bar will be don't be an automatic out like Martin Maldonado. Well, all right. Second straight day, Pedro Grifol said something absolutely somewhere ranging between stupid and confusing, and that needs to be addressed next on Locked On White Sox. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. And hey, play to your strengths. Say you are good at over and under. Well, the NFL schedule just came out, and FanDuel already has a good over and under on the Bears versus the Titans in Week 1. You think Aaron Judge or Juan Soto are going to crush homers off of White Sox pitching? You can put some money down on that. And hey, it's not personal. You can still love the White Sox. It's just good business. Plus, you can play FanDuel in Illinois. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Again, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And the White Sox are off today, but when they're in action, catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And again, I'm your host, Todd Welter. If you've stuck with me this long through the show, I really appreciate it. And I love you everydayers. Appreciate the nice comments. Guy left a really nice comments in the YouTube chat. Really appreciated that. Thanks, man. Well, the White Sox made some roster moves yesterday. And tell me, what was your favorite memory of the Rafael Ortega era? Because he was DFA'd. The Sox recalled Dominic Fletcher, and they traded for outfielder Corey Julks. Julks, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I looked it up, and I think it says Julks. He's 28, comes over from the Astros. The Sox sent right-handed prospect Luis Rodriguez. Julks was had a slash line of 266, 358, 444 with 5 home runs and 6 stolen bases in 31 games with AAA Sugarland. The Astros, though, designated him for assignment last Friday. He did make his debut with the Astros on opening day last season. He did actually spend a good amount of time with the Astros last year. He hit 245, 6 homers in 93 games. And he may be seeing some time with the big league club. Pedro Grifol told reporters, quote, "We'll see where he is. I know he hasn't played in 5-6 days, and we'll see how that plays out," end quote. He also said, quote, "Our front office did a good job of identifying a right-handed hitter that we could use at some point, especially with a string of lefties that we've got in the next couple of days, the next couple of series at the Yankees and Blue Jays, and there's a possibility that he's a part of us." Okay, so that's not the confusing quote that Grifol made. Here's the confusing quote he made. CHGO White Sox beat reporter Vinny Duber posted this on Twitter at Vinny Duber. He's at Vinny Duber. Sox outfield corpse in flux. Pedro Grifol complimented Dominic Fletcher's play at AAA. Quote, "We'll see how long he stays up here," end quote. Grifol said it's also possible Corey Julks could be at the big league level soon, with the Sox facing a number of lefties coming up. Quote, "Maybe, comma, maybe not," end quote. Wait, what? Okay, first of all, Fletcher should have never been sent down. You bring him here. You traded him. You traded for him from the Arizona Diamondbacks. You bring him here to be the starting right fielder. This would be his first full season in the big leagues. He should have been afforded the patience that you've given Andrew Vaughn and Andrew Benintendi. But we all know how Pedro treats young players. I talked about it yesterday, how he took a shot at Brian Ramos for no reason. So Fletcher goes down, doesn't put up great numbers at AAA Charlotte, but now he's back up because the guy that was called up to replace him, a veteran, Rafael Ortega, the guy that was called up to replace him on the 26-man roster, turns out he was washed and ineffective. And then, Pedro decides to be coy about, Julks and Fletcher. You don't need to. This isn't the NFL. You're not going to surprise somebody if if you bring up Julks instead of Fletcher. I don't think the Blue Jays are going to be like, "Oh man, now we got to spend all day watching tape on this guy." Teams are watching tapes on everybody. They get scouting reports. You don't need to fluff off. You can just say, "Look, we're bringing Fletcher up right now. We need a fourth outfielder. Gavin Sheets, he still gets on base, but he's not hitting at the the rate he was in April. So maybe we'll split some time." And and again, if you're just going to be coy and say, "Well, I don't know," what are we doing here? You want to compliment the front office and then just be like, "Well, you can bring up. We're talking about the fourth outfielder here. You don't need to be coy about it. And you could say, "Well, you weren't there." Trust me, this guy was mentored by Ned Yost. I covered Ned Yost. He's being coy and, brushing it off. Not realizing, again, you come across as looking either confusing your fan base because you don't have the benefit of the doubt. You think you're some genius and you're not, or you just look foolish. I mean, again, I get that Gavin Sheets is going to be your right fielder now. He should be for the rest of the season. Because why? He gets on base. So then, why not just say, we're going to go with Julks as the fourth outfielder? Have Dominique Fletcher get his everyday at bats that he needs. I know he's 25, but he's still a young player, relatively. At least get him to play every day, and then that he's there in case there's an injury. So, and again, Fletcher's probably gonna, and then you can even bring up Fletcher later when you trade Tommy Pham. Although you'll have Luis Robert Jr. in center. So that's the other thing. Like, why are we wasting time here then with Dominique Fletcher? If you didn't think he could do the job, keep him down in AAA so he can get regular at bats and try again next season. Because you're going to get Robert Jr. hopefully back. That means you're going to have to move Tommy Pham somewhere. Although hopefully you'll have moved him to another team. But just say, Julks is going to go down to AAA for a few days to you'll get a couple of swings since he's been sitting around doing nothing. And then he'll be up. Boom. I just explained it to you. Nobody's confused. Everybody's fine. Well, anyway, this wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Before I go, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Well, I'll be back tomorrow, and it'll be, what is it you say you do here Friday? So I'll go over that player that we're going to say, what are you doing here, buddy? Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page at Locked On White Sox. Smash the like button and give a 5-star review on wherever you get your podcasts. And let me know your thoughts on today's topics regarding if this is if this is as good as it gets for the White Sox. You can leave them on Twitter at ToddJDub or email me at lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.